Hey, welcome, all my right thinkers. Thanks for tuning in to check out your boy, P Funk. Thinking right out here in my church clothes, doing what I do for you. I feel more like a damn history teacher, and we doing Black History Month in November, because this is all history that we need to really be understanding. So I'm not waiting till February to unload this information. We at the Nile Valley Civilization contributions, and it's about to go down. Let's go. Radism, 25 rules live by. Storytelling, story with a message. There's a message in the story for life. I give life lessons. You tune into receiving them. I appreciate you. We got a good thing going. Let's do what we do. Right thinking mission, and that's what I'm on, is to enlighten, inspire, educate, I got the books for that, and motivate you, the individual, to a higher spiritual level of enlightenment. Right thinkers way of life through mental and spiritual discipline practice daily will help and guide you to obtain your goal of spiritual enlightenment, aka know thyself. My mission is that all right thinkers know thyself. If you're a right thinker, your goal is to know thyself. See where we're going with this? Let's get there together. So I asked the question, do you know you? It's rhetorical. But if you don't have an answer for yourself, tune in. I can help you with that. That's what I do for you. A person who knows not and knows not that they know not is foolish. Disregard them. A person who knows not and knows that they know not is simple, but you can teach them. That's why I do what I do for you. Appreciate you too. Stay tuned. I got more for you. A person who knows not and believe and think that they know is dangerous, avoid them. I do. A person who knows and knows not that they know is spiritually asleep. I can waken up. I'm the spiritual alarm clock, here to wake you up with knowledge of self. That's what I do for you. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All these persons reside in you. Right thinkers, know thyself. And to my yacht, be true. We in the book. I'm doing my novel, and this book got about 200 pages. I'm not gonna go page for page, but it's so much information in this book that I'm on page 18. We ain't even got to the book. We still in the introduction of the author, and what I call some of the stuff fluff information that we might not be interested in. But I'm trying to keep the meat and potatoes. I'm picking out the stuff that I think is prevalent, and this is going to be a good lesson today. Right thinkers, let's talk about or ask the question that was asked a few years ago, a while ago: are black people inherently inferior to white people? Come on. Yeah, I pile on. Let's have some fun because this is when we put you in check, Mr. White Man. Let's go. And the question, are black people inherently inferior to white people? According to them, but who started civilization? Moving on. This is going to be fun. This is like a history lesson to me because I learned this 30 years ago and I'm like, we should all know this, but this is about to get the fun. Watch this, where the preceding comments made by racist hell yeah, okay, or by learned men. No learned man in his right mind, white, black, green, yellow, blue, don't understand who and what the black man contribution to the world is not a learned man. Simple as that. There are some behavioral scientists who believe that the racism is a learned behavior. I agree. Again, gave a scenario. We don't teach our people to hate. White people teach them to hate us. Hence, the racist KKK. The kids don't grow up hating blacks. They teach that. They institute that. So that's a learned behavior. Again, if that is reality, then what? Then it is quite possible that you can trace this behavior to its source. Sure could. In this particular instance, okay, a specific educational institution and a single individual has been identified as a primary source for the invention of what? The doctrine of racial inferiority. Where did it come from? Good question. I'm about to tell you right now. The creation of this myth, and that's what it is, okay, was fabricated when? In 1795 by Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, a professor at Göttingen University in Germany. White, Aryan. Matter of fact, moving on. Blumenbach produced, you ready for this? The first scholarly work on human racial classification. Really? Okay. And invention of the term Caucasian. Dun, 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 dun. He was the inventor of that word back in 1795. And we had an author called Martin Brunel. He was the author of a book called Black Athena, the Afro-Asiatic Roots of what? Greece. Discussed the impact of Blumenbach's research. He didn't do nothing. Why? If he think the Greeks are the originator of civilization, he's wrong. We educated them. For your information, if you didn't know, do your homework. They didn't create nothing. They didn't invent nothing. They got everything from us and served it to the world like it was there. I did that some time to beating that horse. But watch this. Now, this guy Blumenbach was the first to publicize the term Caucasian, which he used for the first time in a third, I think I read this earlier, edition of his so-called great works, okay? Wasted time back in 1975. But according to him, listen, the white or the Caucasian was the first and the most beautiful and talented race of people. You want me to say it again? According to him, the white or the Caucasian race was the first and most beautiful and talented race of people, from which all others had degenerated to become Chinese, Negroes. Yeah, it's 2022. The fact that this was written, period, is a disgrace. It's just a total slap in the face. And to allow that shows a lot about the powers that be. You can't even make that make sense. How you going to get Chinese and Negroes out of white? All you can get from white is white. It didn't make its own self. Moving on. Blumenbach justified the curious name Caucasian on scientific and racial grounds. Watch this. Blumenbach was conventional for his period, okay? And that he included, watch this, the Semites, Egyptians, along as his Caucasians. My man, everybody Caucasian, according to him. He didn't know much. Obviously, he didn't get out of Germany, okay? He didn't know what's going on the other side. Moving on. But this is what has been written, documented, and I just gave you all the reading of the other guy, what they thought about us. Between 1775 and 1800, the Göttingen established the concept of what's this? Of the science of antiquity. They couldn't have been to science of antiquity, upon which what? Future universities would build off of and use it. This slanted and distorted and misguided research which emerged from this institution out of Germany established, watch this, much of the intellectual framework within which later research and publications within the new professional disciplines was carried out. States Martin Brunel, who coming at him, the myths that were created at the Göttingen had held sway when in academia for more than 200 years. So for 200 years, this concept of us black people being inferior to the white man, and you wonder why white privilege is still running wild today. And right now we about to have an election, and all the white people want to do is what? Make America great again. That's code word for bringing back white privilege. America ain't never been great for the black man. As far as I know, I got 66 years here. It ain't never been great for me. I can remember when I was mistreated just because I was black. Been there, done that, got past it. We ain't moving on. But y'all, you trying to take us back? No, we ain't going back. We ain't going back. Okay. We in America. Equality. Y'all claim y'all talking when that white lady Cannon asked a whole audience of white people, knowing the plight of the black man, how many of y'all would change seats with the black man? Not near one raised their hand. And she said to all of y'all, you're racist. And she was right. And you can't argue that. Why? If you know the way we've been treated, and you're the one treating us that way, you don't want to be us. Why? You know you ain't done right by us. And the biggest nightmare for them is that we get in control and we enslave them. No, that wouldn't make us no better than you. Moving on, just get the concept. Don't get it twisted. All right, we ain't into that. Okay, but watch this. And for 200 years, this is what the concept that they taught. But very few scholars took seriously any theory that what? That conflicted with the accepted belief that the ancient Egyptians could have been anything other than Caucasian. To this day, how about this? This is 30 years ago. You go to the museum, the British Museum, the Egyptians you see out in front is the more light-skinned one. The original one, the ancient times, they in the back of the bus, so to speak. They still doing it to this day. So understand, he ain't changed yet. And like my man John Henry Clark said, the one in power ain't going to tell you how to take him out of power. And he ain't going to apologize for being in power or how he got the power. Think about it. But in 1970s, these biases were what? Were scholarly, intellectually, and scientifically proven challenged by who? Two sons of Africa. My man, the late Senegalese multidisciplinarian Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. He was the man. And his associate from Gabon, Dr. Theophile Obenga. So you got Diop and Obenga. Listen to them names, follow them names. Why? Because they took it to the max and they proved that theory wrong. That's why. Watch this. This is a good lesson. Doctors Diop and Obenga both presented papers at the Cairo Symposium, which unequivocally, here you go, when you got in medical or unequivocally, you got proof. That means it unequivocally destroyed that myth of black racial inferiority to the white man. Blew it out the water. From January 28th through February 3rd, 1974, they had the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization known as UNESCO, and it sponsored the symposium, right? Which was held in the capital of Egypt. Watch this. The symposium was attended by 20 of the most prominent Egyptologists in the world at that time, who assembled to debate among each other's topics of race of the ancient Egyptian. They were still debating or arguing our inferiority, and then they debated that we was not black. That didn't want to take credit for being called us Caucasian. No, we're not. Dr. Diop was a brilliant, yes, respect his gangster, scientist who have degrees in what? In Egyptology, physics, linguistics, and anthropology. Okay, so brother was good. He was regarded, watch this, by his peers, his contemporaries, as the pharaoh of African studies. He knew his stuff. Sheikh Anta Diop presented a paper which is entitled Origins of the Ancient Egyptians. And he argued vehemently, irrefutably, that there were 11 categories of evidence to support the thesis that the ancient Egyptians were indigenous black Africans. He had to do all of this to prove his point. And it's a good thing we got people like him in the world, because he did just that, proved his point. And Dr. Obanga's paper, watch this, which was entitled The Peopling of Ancient Egypt, again, and the deciphering of the Meroitic script, meaning aka Medjugorje or hieroglyphics. He provided data which confirmed the existence of subtle linguistic relationships between the ancient Egyptian language and the traditional African languages. The papers presented by Diop and Obanga were virtually unchallenged by any other scholars who presented, which prompted the following comment by a reporter who attended the symposium. He said, although the preparatory work papers sent out by the UNESCO gave the particulars of what was desired, and not all participants had prepared communications comparable with the painstaking research and the contributions of Professor Sheikh Anta Diop and Dr. Obanga. There was consequently a real lack of balance in the discussion. They had no rebuttal. When you can shut them down with facts and proof, they won't have no rebuttal. That's why them guys, you should Google them, find out they did us a great service as a race of people, so they will always be recognized. Now I got a bunch of jibber jabber here, so I'm going to slide on down and get to what I call more of the meat and potatoes. So after they did that, and Sheikh Anta Diop is the one who proved melanin is in the black man, not the white man. That's what this other stuff is about. Like I said, some of it's fluff. Some people don't care. Let me get to the next right here. Now, despite their research by the doctors Diop and Obanga, numerous issues concerning the ethnicity of the ancient Egyptians and the Egyptian contributions to civilizations, it continued to be discussed and debated. Some scholars will never accept the fact that Africans, black people, had anything to do with the development of the Nile Valley civilizations and the culture that emerged in the northernmost region of the Nile Valley, aka Egypt. The myths that were created at the Guten Gen are too powerful for many to overcome. They're not going to let it go. That's a shame. Other scholars will only begin to modify their positions when they are overwhelmed with proof by the plethora of evidence. Not a little bit, not some, but a plethora, a shitload. Okay? Now I'm coming for. Hello? It's been there the whole time. How y'all can make these accusations? Don't got all your information. That's like a judge just taking a plaintiff's side of the view and don't listen to the defendant. That ain't fair. Or vice versa. You got to hear both sides to make a good decision or a judgment. They didn't have to do that. They can just say what they want and nobody questions it. But since the beginning, watch this, the beginning of time, myths have played a powerful role in the formation of institutions and the shaping of beliefs and customs and religious rights of humans. It started in the Nile Valley, and most myths are of unknown origins, but may be traced to some historic event from time long gone. You take a little bit of truth, Stir it up with a little bit of mythology, a little bit of this, and you got a story. That's fine, but it's for educational purpose, like I do. Sorry, I forgot my disclosure. This is for educational purposes only. I'm just here to teach. I ain't trying to do nothing other than that. Now, many believe that the myths have the power to what? To liberate the mind and guide the soul along what is spiritual path of human potentiality. Again, without myths, stories, life has what? Little meaning, if any. But when fabricated for the benefit of a chosen few, aka the Caucasians, myths become a detriment to who? Humanity. Why? You sell them a bill of bad news. You give them bad information. And by impeding their mental growth and understanding of reality, you giving them a false sense. Black is inferior. White is better. Black is bad. White is good. This is your whole MO. Moving on. And if you go back in history, black was always good. Moving on. Always bet on black. Moving on. Before there was like what there was. You got it. Now, the purpose of this is, and future volumes of this book, my man, we just on page 21. I got a whole lot of information in this book that we need to be familiar with. That's all. And you got myths and stories as to examine the potent force of myths and to understand how they influence the thinking of who? Millions of people worldwide. This series will provide a layman's terms and a clear and concise analysis of what proven data which supports the African presence in the world history and its influence on various cultures throughout the ages. Now, the reason for his focus are few. Over the years, I have come to realize that many myths associated with man, God, and civilization have evolved out of concepts. All I have is concepts, okay, which originated with out of Africa, the birthplace of what? Humanity. Why didn't they know that? Why don't these guys who talk that white superior know that they wasn't here. It wasn't even around when civilization got started. So, and secondly, the story of African people is probably one of the most continually, you ready, distorted and misguided stories of any people on the planet. Why is that? That wasn't by accident. Okay? Now, when you start a lie, you hide that lie, you bury that lie. Eventually, that lie gonna be dug up. It's being dug up. We call it become conscious. Y'all call it hidden knowledge. It ain't hidden. They just, skewed it a little bit. Okay? But it's about to be raised. Okay? Now, I'm in this lesson. Why? Because I'm coming back. Let me give you the purpose of this whole concept and what it is here. The first volume of the Exploding of the Myths series is entitled, this is the first one, The Nile Valley Contributions of Civilization. This is number one. And this book right here is divided into 3 parts, each one focusing on specific themes relative to what? The Nile Valley history, the designation of the Nile Valley culture, and the reconstruction of the Nile Valley legacy. That's part 1. Part 1 is entitled The Nile Valley Civilization, and it consists of 3 chapters. The early one I just told you about, and part 2 entitled The Stolen Legacy. That's coming up. Man, I got a whole bunch of information. Then part 3 is the title of the African Renaissance, okay? And comprising 3 also chapters. But these are 3 main focal points that they're going to tell you that the Nile Valley contributions contribute to humanity, aka the world. So for now, I'm gonna end the lesson right there. I see the clock, so I hope you got enough digested right a little bit. I'll be back with more information. I'm enjoying this. I hope you are. So in closing, right thinkers, may you all live to be 100 minus a day. So I never know that my right thinkers who are not inferior to the white man have passed away. I'll be back.